Greetings once again, and welcome to Lore of the Cards, the series that looks to inform you about the lore hidden in your Hearthstone deck. Last time we looked at the angry chicken, scrabbling around for some tasty lore morsels that could be associated with that card. Today, we return to the big boys table for a meal of draconian proportions, the Azure Drake. We'll be looking at the lore character depicted in the card, learning a little about the blue dragonflight and dragons in general. The art of the card is by Ben Zhang, who I can find almost no information on. What I do know is that he is one of Blizzard's senior concept artists, as he did a presentation on the artist stage at the 2013 BlizzCon. But when searching the internet, this is all it throws up. This and the work of another Ben Zhang that produces art for Marvel. When comparing the work, I find it difficult to believe that this is the same guy. It's a shame I can't find more, as it seems Zhang has produced some truly awesome pieces, including ethereal art, a Night Elven Lady Vash, Agra, and the Azure Drake, who is the lore character Arygos of the Blue Dragonflight. To achieve a thorough understanding of this card's lore, we must go way back into the past of the Warcraft universe. It is unclear how the chaotic universe was birthed, but what is clear is that a race of metallic-skinned giants called the Titans came into existence. These colossal gods, ruled over by a council of their wisest and most powerful, the Pantheon, sought to bring order to the chaotic universe. They brought stability and ensured a safe future for the younger beings that would prosper from their great mission. The Titans travelled the universe, shaping worlds, raising mountains, producing bountiful oceans, and breathing air and atmosphere into each world they visited. One of these worlds would later become known to its inhabitants as Azeroth. Like the previous planets, Azeroth was in a state of chaotic flux when the Titans arrived. The elementals were constantly at war with each other, their lords, such as Ragnaros, commanding armies against the other elemental lords. What the opposing factions shared in common was their worship of the planet's diabolical overlords, the Old Gods, Lovecraftian horrors that revelled in the planet's chaos and destruction. Disturbed by the Old Gods' lust for evil, the Pantheon waged war on these misshapen beasts and their lackeys. Despite the elemental armies having power far beyond mortal comprehension, the Titans were able to soundly defeat their adversaries, but were not able to kill the Old Gods. The giants had been unchallenged for so long that they had infected the world of Azeroth. Since they were linked to the planet, killing an old god would irreversibly damage the world. To get around this, the Titans imprisoned them deep within the earth, and the raging elementals were banished to an abyssal plane, so they could no longer wage their wars across the face of the planet. When order was restored, the shaping of Azeroth began. The Titans constructed a single continent known as Kalimdor, land of eternal starlight. Satisfied that order had been brought to the planet, the Titans left to find new worlds to order and bring peace to, but not before empowering Azeroth's greatest species, the dragons, to help protect the world that had been crafted. Though there were many flights, the Pantheon empowered the 5 most powerful leaders, and they became known as the Dragon Aspects. The Titan known as Eonar the Lifebinder empowered 2 dragons. She gifted the red dragon, Alexstrasza, with the power to safeguard all living creatures and life, and the green dragon Ysera was charged with protecting nature and the Emerald Dream, an alternative Azeroth that depicts the world as if it had not been touched by sentient beings. The leader of the Pantheon, Aman'Thul, blessed the bronze dragonflight Nozdormu with the power of time, entrusting the aspect to watch over and protect it. Khaz'goroth the Shaper, who crafted the world's mountains, gave the black dragon Neltharion dominance over the earth and the deep places of the world. Finally, the Titan Norgannon gave the blue dragon Malygos power to guard the magic and arcanum of the world. Arygos is the son of Malygos. The fate of Malygos and the Blue Dragonflight is perhaps one of Azeroth's greatest tragedies. I will of course explain Malygos' story in full when I come to covering his card, but since Arygos is his son, Malygos' fate is very closely tied to his. Thousands of years passed after the Aspects were blessed with their powers, and an event known as the War of the Ancients took place. This war saw the races of Azeroth desperately try to protect their world from the Burning Legion. The Legion was commanded by Khaz'goroth, a titan that used to be the champion of the Pantheon, slaying the demons that sought to undo the work of the Titans. Khaz'goroth became disillusioned with the Pantheon's mission, and now seeks to undo what they have made, bringing chaos back to the universe with his demonic army. Khaz'goroth had not yet arrived on Azeroth, but one of his trusted lieutenants, Archimon, led the attack and sought to strengthen the portal capable of summoning Khaz'goroth. In this perilous moment of Azeroth's history, the Dragon Aspects stepped up to the plate. Neltharion had crafted a golden disc, which he asked the other Aspects to impart a portion of their power into, to create a weapon to defeat the Legion. Malygos backed his good friend's plan, and with little urging, the Aspects gave some of their power. With this new powerful artifact, the Dragon Soul, in hand, the Aspects and the Dragonflights joined the mortal races in their defence against the Burning Legion. Neltharion used the Dragon Soul's power and shattered the forces of the Legion. Victory seemed as if it was assured. That was, until Neltharion, to the horror of the other Aspects, brought the Soul's power to bear on the races of Azeroth too. From the centre of the earth, the old gods had been whispering to Neltharion, slowly driving the Black Leviathan mad, turning him into a force that would later become known as Deathwing. Neltharion also turned the Dragon Soul's power against the other flights. All the Aspects had contributed their power except Neltharion. All the other Dragonflights were paralysed mid-air. Luckily, the Red Dragon Corielstraz, consort of Alexstrasza, was not around when the initial paralysis spell was cast. He was able to distract Neltharion long enough to disrupt his channeling of the spell and free the other dragons. Malygos, enraged by the betrayal of one of his closest friends and allies, was the first to strike with his flight. The Blues charged Neltharion, but the Black Drake unleashed the full power of the Dragon Soul on Malygos and his brethren. Most of his flight was killed, including his prime consort, Sindragosa, and Malygos himself was flung far from the battlefield. After the destruction of the Blue Flight, Neltharion fled as the other flights bared down on him to avenge their fallen comrades. After this devastating event, the dragons left the fight to the mortal races, who barely prevented Khaz'goroth's arrival, but did defeat the Legion. This came at a great cost, as the single continent of Kalimdor was split into 4. After the battle, Corielstraz went to the frozen home of the Blue Drakes in Northrend to see if any more of the flight had survived. All he was able to find were a few of the flight's nearly frozen eggs. These eggs were still intact, and life could yet come from them, so Corielstraz placed them in a pocket universe with the help of Nozdormu, where time ran slowly until he could find someone to entrust to nurture the eggs. One of these eggs contained Arygos, and the Red Dragons would see to their care. Malygos fell into a 10,000-year madness. Grief ate away at the scaled beast, and he isolated himself from everyone, including some of the remaining members of his flight. The few Blues that were left continued the work assigned to them by the Titans, caring for and researching the world's magical artifacts. Arygos would later be key in once again helping the mortal races defend against another threat to Azeroth during the War of the Shifting Sands. This war was fought between the valiant Night Elves and the Karaji. In their kingdom of Ahn'Qiraj, the Karaji had discovered one of their former masters, the old god Cthulhu. From behind the walls of their kingdom, they built up a massive army to spread the destruction their master craved. When ready, they swarmed over the deserts of Silithus. The Night Elves and the Bronze Dragons, led by the son of Nosdormu, Arygos, met the Khaz'goroth in battle. However, despite the backing of the Dragonflight, the Night Elves struggled to fight back the insectoid invaders due to their sheer numbers. Arygos enlisted the help of the other Dragonflights, progenies of the Aspects leading their respective flights. Arygos led the Blues. In a final push, Arygos and the other children of the Aspects, Khaz'goroth and Marithra, flew into Ank'Karaj, pushing the Khaz'goroth back into their city. Behind them, Arygos and the Night Elves erected a magical barrier to seal away the Khaz'goroth and their master until the heroes of Azeroth were ready to enter the city and take out the threat of the Khaz'goroth and Cthulhu. That day came 9,000 years later, and it was discovered that Arygos, Khaz'goroth and Marithra were all still alive, imprisoned by Cthulhu. In fact, Cthulhu had cast a potent spell that meant that any dragon to enter his domain would fall under his control. Cthulhu, however, did not expect the mortal races to dare attack his kingdom, and the Khaz'goroth and their master were defeated by Azerothian heroes. With his defeat, Arygos, Khaz'goroth and Marithra were freed. After years upon years of slumber, Malygos awakened. Events had transpired to help the Blue Aspect regain some of his sanity, and with this restored, he proclaimed war on the mortal spellcasters of Azeroth. This was a panicked response from Malygos, as it was the mortal race's flagrant use of arcane magic that attracted the Burning Legion to Azeroth. One of the final memories he still had before falling to insanity. Arygos openly sided with his father, but his clutch sister Khaz'goroth opposed their father. During the war, Khaz'goroth, pregnant with her first eggs, went missing. Since Arygos was one of the most elitist of his flight, it was suspected that Khaz'goroth had been murdered by members of her own kind. With help from the Red Dragonflight, who were sworn to protect all life, the mortals were able to defeat Malygos in his domain. This meant, with Malygos dead, the Blues no longer had an aspect. The Blues without leadership now sought to find a successor to Malygos, the two most likely candidates being Arygos, his son, and Khaz'goroth. Khaz'goroth, though not one of Malygos' children, had helped restore the Sunwell, a great font of magical power in Azeroth. Each had opposing views. Arygos felt that the Blues should withdraw from the rest of the world and build their own future. Khaz'goroth believed that communication and building relations with the other races would set the Blues on a path to a brighter future, rather than the tragedy the flight had been mired in since their destruction at the hands of Neltharion. The debate raged on between the flight. Both opposing parties agreed that the arguments would come to an end at the Embrace, an event where Azeroth's two moons perfectly align. The large moon, the White Lady, looks as if it is embracing the smaller, the Blue Child. This occurrence is very rare and happens about every 430 years. It was under this condition that the Titans created the first Aspects, and it is needed to create a new aspect. Arygos was desperate to become the new leader of his flight, and did the unthinkable, allied himself with the newly awakened Neltharion, Deathwing.
I have agreed to this meeting, Worldbreaker, but at great risk. If this is discovered...
Calm yourself, Arygos. Your barrier will buy you all the time you need. With Khaz'goroth dead, your destiny as the Blue Aspect shall be realized.
And once this new order is established, my place will be secure, yes?
Your reign over the realm of magic will be absolute, even after the hour of Twilight. But be warned, Arygos, son of Malygos. Do not make the mistakes of your father. Cross me, and your punishment will be greater than the madness he suffered.
This alliance sought to assassinate Khaz'goroth so that Arygos was the only choice for leader. As a double agent, Arygos confronted Alexstrasza about the death of his father, as the dragons tried to think of a plan to defeat Deathwing once and for all, and ordered his guards to kill Thrall. The once war chief of the Horde was to prove instrumental to defeating Deathwing. His and Deathwing's plans were thwarted by Aspects, a dragon Khaz'goroth had looked after since she was a hatchling. This meant they had formed a sibling-like bond. Khaz'goroth's life came at the cost of Aspects', as she needed to sacrifice herself to save him. With Arygos' deception revealed, Khaz'goroth became the only logical choice for Aspect. As Khaz'goroth was given an Aspect's power, Arygos proclaimed his flight fools, and that Deathwing would later destroy them all. Arygos thought he was the only choice, as he had been Malygos' son. As Deathwing's experimental dragons, the Twilight flight, attacked, Arygos flew to where his father had been slain, the Eye of Eternity. Here he met with one of Deathwing's most loyal agents, the Twilight Father, who was not too pleased with Arygos for failing to kill Thrall. The Twilight Father agreed to help Arygos kill Thrall to shake Khaz'goroth's faith and make the Blues reconsider their choice of Aspect. However, as a servant of the Twilight Father mounted Arygos to enact this plan, the dragon was betrayed. The servant plunged a sword deep into the base of Arygos' skull, instantly killing the worm. The Twilight Father then used Arygos' blood to activate the focusing iris. The iris had previously been used by Malygos to control the magical ley lines of Azeroth, activated by his blood. The Twilight Father now used this extremely powerful magical artifact to animate the five-headed chromatic dragon, Chromatus. The dragon was the perfect example of a chromatic drake, possessing the powers of every flight. So, there you have it. The Azure Drake is in fact the son of the legendary Malygos. Arygos once sacrificed himself to save Azeroth, but later tried to help Deathwing bring destruction to his home. A worm who looked to lead his kind, killed by betrayal. That's it for this card. If you have enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe and share it around. Your support for the channel is massively appreciated. If you have suggestions for future cards or corrections, let me know in the comments section below. I'm undecided as for what to do next episode. It's likely going to be my first weapon lore with the Doomhammer, or my first multiple lore video, giving a quick lowdown on each of the warlocks, demons, and their place in the world. Let me know if you have a preference. Bye for now.